Today I'd like to talk about various topics which have been suggested from pieces of phlegm-coated paper I found in all but one of 20 Big Macs I bought from motorway service stations across the Midlands. The first topic is a discussion with my wife. In the 1930s, they sold shrimp rolls in cinemas across America. There was one cinema in particular where they were quite popular, and it was outside a factory that produced glow-in-the-dark clock faces. They employed young women to paint the clock hands with radium, which is of course a highly radioactive substance. These people eventually had their jaws, teeth and tongue rot away due to licking the paintbrushes to clean them. Mr. Roosevelt demanded to know why shrimp rolls were so popular in this cinema, which was packed full of jawless young women every day. The answer was very simple. The heat death of the universe was mainly responsible for the creation of the BBC test card F. The test card was transmitted backwards in time from the very end of absolutely everything into BBC Television Centre in around about 1966 or 67. I remember the day when I picked up these transmissions. I talked to my wife about something I read in the paper. There was a new pope, and he was entirely chocolate-based. He was touring museums across the UK, and schoolchildren were snapping bits off him and eating them. The Daily Mirror reported that Pope Benny Benson III was now just a torso and half a left thigh. I told my wife about this, but she didn't seem to respond. So I put on my glasses and I saw that she drowned in the goldfish tank. I yanked her head out as quick as I could, but she was already becoming translucent and blurry. It would only be a matter of time before her energies were manifested inside a shrimp roll. The young David Bowie once wrote about his experiences as a robotic bisexual mercenary in post-war America. He says, "I was hovering outside a step-down transformer in Ohio, enjoying the drone and buzz of electricity. Nearby, I noticed endless lines of jawless young women dancing into a cinema. I walked in to investigate and saw the women buying armfuls of shrimp rolls and placing them in the empty skin flaps that once contained bone. They arranged them so that they formed a crude kind of savory Chinese jaw. For teeth, they added pins, and for a tongue, a signed photograph of Clark Gable." It's at this point in my talk I feel I need to remind my listeners that if you replace your tongue with a signed photo of any given celebrity, your voice turns into an exact replica of that person. So I was at Television Centre guiding the set builders and dressers for the first broadcast of Test Card F. The test card was 1 mile high and 1 3/4 miles wide. For the centerpiece, a young girl inflated to 10 times her size via the injections of liquid latex. "Mr. Boswell," she called. "Mr. Boswell, I cannot think straight. My mind is full of cotton and my ears are full of the roar of the Big Bang." A large toy clown beside her glowered at me. I stood there and cautiously looked it up and down as the enormous steel frequency gratings were slowly bolted into place. I reached into my satchel and took out the head of my wife. Not the actual head, but a cloned copy from a data cassette backup. As the tongue had not been recorded due to a lack of space, I had replaced it with a signed photograph of Lyndon B. Johnson. I asked it as to whether it thought the test card would be a success. It replied, "Send them to foreign land. The burning of their enemy's flesh will mollify the sexual. Celebrate the America." The eighth part of this talk deals with the links between radium and shrimp rolls. In the 1930s, shrimp rolls were very popular amongst gangsters with syphilis. Over plates of steaming shrimp rolls and bowls of French Canadian bean soup, they would discuss the toxin levels in their bloodstream, where the toxins could have come from, as to whether it could be due to ill-fitting shoes, and if these ill-fitting shoes could cure syphilis. They'd try stuffing the shrimp rolls with their ill-fitting shoes and eat them, but they would just flash on and off for a bit and then make a beep. They'd finance and produce an animated cartoon about ill-fitting shoes and eat that, but they just turn into a radio play about a flying severed penis that raped women every Maundy Thursday. They'd even try writing and directing a radio play about a flying severed penis that raped women every Maundy Thursday, and eat that, but they just turned into ill-fitting shoes that were cured of syphilis. All in all, it was a resounding failure. I hope that part of this talk helped you understand the links between radium, shrimp rolls, and David Bowie. In the 1980s, David Bowie was put in charge of maintaining test card F. Some 20 years on, the test card had started to decay quite badly. The colour bars were flaking paint, the frequency gratings were turning to rust, and the girl at the centre had died and had to be sent to a giant fluid-swollen taxidermist, who himself died and had to be sent to another giant fluid-swollen taxidermist, who himself died and had to be sent to another giant fluid-swollen taxidermist, who again himself died and had to be sent to another giant fluid-swollen taxidermist, and yet again who himself died and had to be sent to another giant fluid-swollen taxidermist. And today I'd like to talk about various topics which have been suggested from pieces of blood-smeared cardboard found in sandwiches bought at branches of subways in high streets across East Anglia. The first topic is a discussion with my wife. In the 1930s, they sold shrimp rolls in cinemas across America. There was one cinema in particular where they were quite popular, and it was outside a factory that produced glow-in-the-dark bum pictures. They employed young women to paint the pictures of bums with radium, which is, of course, a highly radioactive substance. These people tended to have their own bums, as well as their anus and the hair around the anus, to rot away due to sticking the paintbrushes up their arse to clean them. Mr. Roosevelt demanded to know why he was dead. The answer was very simple. Shrimp rolls contained 50 times the allowed amount of ill-fitting shoes, pins, signed photos of Clark Gable, radium, fluid-swollen young girls, frequency gratings, chocolate popes, and David Bowie. The young David Bowie once wrote about his experiences as a robotic bisexual mercenary in the post-heat death of the universe America. He says, "I was enjoying the music of Kajagoogoo, a popular band of the time, when I suddenly noticed the heat death of the universe. Some people nearby flashed on and off for a bit and then beeped, but other than that it was all a bit nothingy really." And that concludes this talk. I hope it has made clear to you the links between the smiley face and the early Filmation logo, Tony Blackburn, and rank screen advertising. Thank you for listening.